My name is Disowned. I'm from ZFM. From tomorrow's event, what is the significance of this day to the people of Zimbabwe?
The significance of Defense Forces Day is to really commemorate the founding of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces. It is also to recognize the fact that after we had been subjected to colonialism, our grandparents took up arms to fight the foreign, in this particular case, British colonialists. Our forefathers did their best to fight, but as we all know, they were outgunned because the others were using modern equipment and they had very rudimentary equipment. But the fight was on. And for some time, they were pleased to the Queen, they were pleased to various organizations until it was eventually concluded by our leaders that since we were being oppressed by the power of the gun, we had ourselves now to also use the gun, bullet for bullet, and move in a way that we would be able to overpower those who were oppressing us. So that is the process leading to the formation of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces. And it is also a day to celebrate that achievement. So when the forces march in parade and do various things, it's a commemoration, it's a celebration. If the forces had not been so trained, we may not have been in this room this afternoon. So some of us commemorate and celebrate that this is what has, or what gave birth to Zimbabwe, the power to overcome the military forces of the Smith regime supported by apartheid South Africa at that time.
My name is Anna Chibamu. I write for the Korea. Minister, my question is that since we got the independence 36 years ago, what are the greatest challenges, according to you, that are hindering development in Zimbabwe? Because we seem to have people protesting for different reasons, and it seems somewhere something is wrong.
We have a situation in this country fairly different from the other countries in Southern Africa. We were fighting for our land. We had discussions and agreement at that time with the Margaret Thatcher government. When the Labour Party got into power under Tony Blair, they reneged on all the agreements we had had with the previous government. And the arrangement was that for whatever land we were going to buy for resettling our people, we would contribute 50%, 50%. And Tony Blair said that was between us and the Conservatives. He himself was not going to honor that. When we took the land, which we had been fighting for, they then decided to impose economic sanctions on us. And as you and all of us sit today, the imposition of those economic sanctions has contributed very largely to the difficulties which our economy is facing. if we had not had the sanctions imposed on us, you will agree with me that from 1980 to about 1999, Zimbabwe was progressing, was developing very, very rapidly. But when the economic sanctions were imposed, we have now run into this problem, which also says to all of us here, we must be in a position to control our economy. If this economy had been in the hands of Zimbabweans, nobody was going to impose sanctions on us because we have the economy in our hands. But when the economy is foreign-owned and you quarrel with the foreign owners of the land, then we have what we are having. So the real greatest obstacle to economic development in Zimbabwe is the sanctions by the British, supported by the Americans through ZIDERA. That is the problem that we are having.
Honorable, I understand you are a war veteran also, despite being the Minister of Defense. Are you happy with the current political developments, looking at the issue of protests, especially, and also the communique by some of you, the war veterans? What does that mean to the country of Zimbabwe?
When you have disagreements, and those of us who were given political education under trees, you must know that sometimes there are contradictions. And you should look at the contradictions and decide whether the contradictions are antagonistic or non-antagonistic. What we are having currently, in my view, are differences, but we should be able to put our minds together. What is the real problem? How do we solve it? How do we solve it successfully but amicably, so that those areas which stress people, which make people agitate, can be addressed to the satisfaction of everybody? But as we have said, you sometimes get the fifth column coming in, looking at the political environment, knowing there are some problems, they then want now to use those disagreements to further their own interests, regime change. When you have a document that nobody is honoring to have been the author, you have to look at the other possibilities. If a man or a woman is honest with himself or herself, if I author a document, I should be able to sign it. Varushwaya should be able to sign it. But when all of us say, no, it's not our document, then we have the problem that there can be infiltration, and infiltration can actually be channeled through some people who may have grievances, but our detractors then take advantage of that and begin to circulate the type of document you are talking about, the communique. No honest, no disciplined war veteran who really accepts that the president is head of state and government, if the commander-in-chief of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, would author something like that. But munu van vanopanduka, and what is there now is to now try, using the various organs of the state, try to find out who exactly was behind that document. Was it a document which was thrown in? Vakafuda mombe, you know. So that you quarrel amongst yourselves. That is also a possibility. But we are investigating, and the truth will come out.
Person.
My name is Lucy Yasini. I'm a freelance journalist. Today we've been commemorating it's Heroes Day, tomorrow is Defense Forces Day. But there are certain sections of society who have continued to shun these commemorations, arguing they've been politicized. They are aligned to one political party. What will be your comment on that, and what will be your message towards such kind of thinking?
When you drive into Heroes Acre, there is no gate which says which political party do you belong to, which political party do you belong to. People are free. People who want to come are free to come. It has never been said at any one of these commemorations that it's only political party X which is allowed to come. So attendance is not compulsory, but to try and say we don't go because it's now a celebration by one party is not correct, because as I say, at the entrance there are no officers who are asking to which party you or her belong to. It's a commemoration that I believe should be attended by all Zimbabweans who really know that it was not easy to be free. People had to fight, people had to sacrifice, and let's honor all those who made that supreme sacrifice.
Person.
Yes, sir. Getting back to the issue of defense forces, today at the Heroes Acre, His Excellency President Mugabe said he praised the defense forces for their international obligations in peace and support operations in SADC and the UN. How important are these relationships, and what are some of the benefits we have read 36 years on?
These relationships are important. If you look at the world as a whole, the defense forces in various continents, in various countries, have a working relationship with the others in the area, in the region. If you take ourselves, we had a situation in Mozambique where Renamo was trying to overthrow the government. They were also trying now to cut our routes to the sea. They were trying to blow our pipeline. We went in to support the Mozambican Defense Forces, leading to the Roma Code of 1992. So that is important. We also have a SADC in terms of the AU, what we call the African Standby Force. In SADC we have that. So you always get this type of cooperation between the various countries in the sector of defense and security. You will also know that because of the competence of our own defense forces, they have been invited to various countries. We even, as we sit down now, know that our own commander of the army, Lieutenant General Philip Valerius Banda, used to be the commander of UN troops in Angola. So that's a role that we play, and we have been, as you know, to DRC, we have been to Somalia, and so forth. And we think, as Africans, when there are problem spots on the African continent in various countries, if we are requested, we should be able to offer assistance.
Question?
At the Heroes Acre today, we did not see the war veterans. Does this mean they've snapped the event, or I don't know what it implies? Maybe you can elaborate on that.
When we are at Heroes Acre, there is no specific area dedicated to war veterans. They come dressed like you are, and it is difficult to say whether there is a war veteran or no war veteran. They come dressed in civilian clothes. There are no insignia here to say these are war veterans. So, my sister, when you say there were no war veterans,
the
I think you
that
should.
we
You,
normally see,
the
the top brass that we normally see, we never saw them today.
I think you should have looked a little further. You would see a lot of them who were there.
We were there.
They were there. Yes. What some people would want to say is that the war veterans have boycotted, but that is not true. Many war veterans were there.
Did you end up?
Yes. Minister, going back, you said the problem Zimbabwe is faced with that is hampering development is sanctions. But there are people out there who are saying we've also contributed as a nation, as leadership, in allowing corruption to grow in the country and be another hindrance. What would be your take on that?
We should, both as a political party, as government, never tolerate, let alone encourage corruption. And it is going to be absolutely necessary through the commission that is now in place to look at every case of alleged corruption and let the law take its course. We cannot turn a blind eye to corruption. It corrodes the integrity of a nation.
Question?
Okay, Minister, my name is Walter Chari from ZBC. Now, as the ministry, what are you doing in terms of current global security challenges? We have seen Boko Haram in Nigeria, the ISIS, as the ZDF. What are you doing in terms of security challenges?
If you take organizations like Boko Haram and the like, there is no clear front line. They come in various ways. So as the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, we should always be prepared for what we normally call asymmetric warfare, so that whichever way they come, we should be alert. Our security intelligence services should be alert, and we should never be taken by surprise. So that process we are doing, and we will have our ears and eyes open so that we are never taken by surprise.
Another take?
Yeah, maybe lastly, you mentioned of sanctions and economic challenges. Now, as a ministry or as a DF, maybe how prepared are you in terms of technology?
If you take the present state of affairs in the world, information communication technology is taking center stage, and we must ourselves as a defense force be in sync with that. We should train our officers. We should train those who come to join the defense forces in information communication technology. You know that in some cases, what we call cyber warfare, they just do certain things, they jam your systems, they try to just complicate your way of doing things. So we are naturally training to be able to deal with such a situation should it arise.